Hello fellow coffee botherers, I'm Kev from coffeeblog.co.uk, and in this video I'm going to be talking about the Sage or Breville Dual Boiler Espresso machine. This is the first in a new series on the dual boiler, and in this first video, as usual, I'm going to be giving an overview on this machine. In future videos, I'll be focusing in on various features and so on. But in the meantime, for a much more in-depth review, go to coffeeblog.co.uk/DB. In this initial overview video, I'm only going to really quickly cover the basics, as you can find all of these everywhere, and you're probably already well aware of these. I'm going to spend more time going over the things you might not know about this machine and the things that have impressed me the most about it from using it for the past 6 weeks or so. So, the basic stuff. It's from Sage, known as Breville outside of Europe. They sold the brand name here in the 80s. It's a dual boiler espresso machine, obviously, and this means you can steam milk and pull shots at the same time. It has a 2.5 litre water tank, a nice big 1.2 litre drip tray, and a commercial sized 58mm portafilter. The water tank can be filled here from the top or by spinning it around and removing it. It has a lever for the steam, it has a separate water knob, and it has 2 programmable shot buttons and a manual shot button. It has an LCD screen with a shot timer and a very simple to use control panel from which you can do things like change the brew temperature, reprogram the shot buttons, change the pre-infusion time and pressure, and so on. It's heated up and ready to go within about 5 or 6 minutes, and it has a programmable auto wake up feature so you can have it ready for you when you next want coffee. So these are the basics. You could have got all this from simply reading the marketing blurb or from watching any other video on the dual boiler. So I want to spend most of the time in this overview video going over the points that have impressed me the most from using this machine as my main home espresso machine for the past 6 weeks or so. This way, hopefully, I'm covering the main points that other people will also find most important, rather than just going over the standard features and so on. The first thing I want to talk about is temperature stability and precision. When it comes to making great espresso consistently, I think that most people will agree that temperature stability and precision are key. You can have all the bells and whistles you like. If you don't have a precise and stable brew temperature, you're fighting an uphill battle right from the start. Not only is this machine among the cheapest dual boiler espresso machines available, in fact it's cheaper than a lot of heat exchanger machines, it's also one of the very best espresso machines you're going to find when it comes to temperature stability and precision, certainly for this kind of price. In fact, I'd go out on a limb and say that to get any better performance in this crucial area, you're going to have to spend a lot more money. There are machines at double the cost or more that I doubt are even on a par, let alone better than the dual boiler in this area. This is because of the really innovative design of the heating system of this machine. It's not just a dual boiler espresso machine, it's a dual boiler plus heat exchanger plus heated group machine with dual PIDs. The result of this is that the group may as well be a fully integrated group, meaning being completely one with the brew boiler. It isn't, the group is separate from the brew boiler, but the results are as if it were, because it has 2 separate PID controllers independently receiving feedback from sensors in the group and in the brew boiler, which allows them to work together along with the heating element in the group to ensure that the brew temperature is almost exactly as the user has set it. You'll notice I mentioned a heat exchanger. While machines are usually either dual boiler or heat exchanger machines, they realised that if they used a heat exchanger, they can pull hot fresh water into the brew boiler instead of cold, which reduces thermal shock to the brew boiler and improves the temperature stability. Then they've given the user precise temperature control over a range of 86 to 96 degrees Celsius or around 187 to 205 Fahrenheit. So with this machine you have unrivaled precision and stability in terms of temperature at this kind of price point. At the time of filming, I'm not aware of any other machine at this kind of price that would come close in this particular area. As far as I'm concerned, everything I've said so far is really all I should need to say about this machine. It isn't, there's loads more I'm going to say, things that have really impressed me about it and things I think you'll like, but all these things are just little cherries on the top really. If you're looking for an espresso machine, temperature stability and precision is paramount. So personally, I'd recommend focusing on finding which machine performs the best in this area for your available budget and not focus too much on anything else. That said, this machine does very well when it comes to everything else too. If this were a cake, it would have that many cherries on top, it would be a Black Forest Gâteau. I'll talk about what I think is potentially the most useful other stuff first, and then I'll talk about the little things which I think also make a big difference. As well as control over the brew temperature, the dual boiler gives you an unusual level of control over pre-infusion, allowing you to control the pre-infusion time over a big range of 0 to 90 seconds and the pre-infusion power. While this might sound like a level of control that would make things more complex than they need to be, what this does is enables you to pull some really interesting shots with this machine, which you may want to pay particular interest to if you're interested in pulling shots with lighter roasted beans. Using this long and low power pre-infusion option allows you to pull shots along the same lines as with the Slayer espresso machines, which provide a fuller extraction with lighter roasted beans. Lighter roasted coffee has some great flavours to offer, but it's very easy to end up under extracted, meaning you're not experiencing the full gamut of flavour that coffee bean has to offer. Often what should be an incredible tasting shot doesn't end up fully extracted, so you don't get to the sweeter stuff that would lead to a more balanced extraction and therefore a well-balanced shot. So with the Slayer machine, with long, low pressure pre-infusion, you have the ability to get a more full extraction with lighter roasted beans, and you can do that with this machine too at a fraction of the price. As I've said, I've had this machine for about 6 weeks so far, and for about 4 of those weeks I've been almost exclusively pulling these long Slayer-like shots because the taste and mouthfeel I've been getting, particularly with beans that are roasted a bit lighter than traditional espresso roast, is amazing. This is really simple, by the way. Don't be intimidated by how complex it might sound. All you do is press the up and down arrows at the same time, set a long pre-infusion time, and then set the pre-infusion power to 55. Or do what I've been doing, which is to ignore the pre-infusion time, just set the power to 55 and then press and hold the manual shot button to keep the machine in pre-infusion until the first drips, aiming for this to happen at between 17 to 20 seconds and simply adjusting the grind, making it finer if the drips start earlier. Then there's something called flow profiling, which is where you aim to control the flow rate of a shot to keep it to a certain profile. This is something the brand of espresso machines called Decent are famous for. But again, this machine is capable of it. Okay, not in the same way you can with the Decent, and you need a scale like the Cayer Luna to give you the flow feedback. But again, we're talking hugely different price points. The cheapest Decent is about 2.5 times the price of the dual boiler in the UK at the time of filming, and the top level Decent machine is roughly 3.5 times the price. Basically, you can control the pump pressure on the Sage dual boiler via the water knob, which allows you to do this with the use of scales which give data, flow data, such as the Cayer Luna. You can actually do it without modding, just opening the water up slightly while the shot's pulling, allowing you to reduce the pressure, but then you're wasting water and filling the drip tray. So the better way to do it is simply to reroute a few water pipes. It's completely reversible as a mod, it's free to do, and it's fairly straightforward. Most people watching this though won't want or need this mod, at least not right now, but the fact it's available on a relatively low cost machine is very impressive. If you're not interested in any of this though, no problem, you can just use the pre-programmed shot buttons or the manual shot button. The 2 shot buttons can be programmed by time, and that's the way I've been using it while not pulling these longer Slayer-like shots. I always aim for a 28 to 32 second shot time when I'm pulling standard shots. So I've simply set up the double shot button to stop at 32 seconds because I wouldn't want it to run for longer than that. And if the shot is finished before that, I can stop it manually. Or you can go into the settings and change the buttons to be volumetric instead of timed, although I've not done any experimenting as of yet to see how well that works. So now let's talk about steaming. Steam is controlled with a lever rather than a rotary dial, and I love that. To me, it just makes so much more sense to simply be able to turn the steam off and on with a lever. The wand is on a ball joint, so you have a decent range of movement, giving you the flexibility over jug position, and the wand has a 3-hole steam tip. You can simply change the steam boiler temperature and therefore pressure via the LCD controls. At the factory preset, you should find the steam power manageable enough to learn to properly texture milk, but also not too slow. It does steam faster than the smaller Sage or Breville machines such as the Bambino Plus, Barista Pro, etc., which have thermocoils, but not as quickly as with some machines. The steam power is very consistent though, and you can push it up a gear by upping the steam boiler temperature, but personally I find it more than powerful enough at the lower factory preset steam boiler temperature, and I've been able to create some brilliant microfoam with the dual boiler consistently, which really helps when you're trying to learn to pour latte art. Finally, I just want to talk about some seemingly little things which I really like about this machine. Firstly, for a dual boiler espresso machine, it's fairly compact. It's a bit bigger than the likes of the Barista Pro and Barista Express, but it's not that much bigger, and for a dual boiler machine, it's not that big. If you take out the big drip tray, there's a little storage tray behind, and also there's a locking wheel, so if you want to spin it around to remove the water tank, you can do that without giving yourself a hernia or scratching your worktop. The drip tray has a little empty me paddle, as the Barista Pro and Express do too, so you know when the drip tray needs emptying, which is handy. There's a cable tidy inside the machine, so any spare cable can be pushed inside the machine so it's not in the way. There's a cutout in the front so you can see the level of the water tank, and it's lit up so you can see it. Plus there's a water level indicator on the display, and the machine won't let you continue to use it if you do let the water tank run empty. There's this little top loading door for the water tank that I mentioned in case you want to top it up from there. There's the brilliant steam lever which I've mentioned, which I really like. So keeping in mind that this is one of the lowest cost dual boiler machines on the market, I think the Sage or Breville dual boiler has a heck of a lot of positives, and I'm hoping that I've pointed out some here that you weren't aware of. In terms of negatives, if you've watched my other videos, you'll know I'm always completely honest, but I can't really find any. There's one thing that annoyed me to begin with, which is a 15-minute auto off, which I think is particular to Europe. I don't think you'll have this with the Breville versions, but this isn't Sage's fault. In Europe, all home coffee machines, since a particular EC regulation, have to have this. So I'd imagine most modern home espresso machines will have this same feature. Maybe this will change now after Brexit, I'm not sure, but to be honest, I don't think it matters with this machine in particular. Some machines take 20 to 30 minutes or longer to heat up, so I can understand why that would be a real pain, but this takes 5 or 6 minutes to heat up, and it has an auto wake up timer so you can use it to have it turn on the next time you're planning on making coffee, so I don't really think it's a big deal. So there you go, that's my overview review of the Sage or Breville dual boiler. As you can tell, I'm a big fan, so much so that I'm keeping the machine I've bought as my main home espresso machine. By the way, a quick word on longevity and durability. I decided to buy a reconditioned machine to use as I'm planning on doing some modding, so I didn't want Sage to send me a demo, and I didn't want to buy a new one in case I break it. The machine I've been using at home is over 6 years old and has pulled over 1100 shots and appears to be absolutely fine. The engineer who reconditioned it tells me they're reliable machines and that when it comes to maintaining them, they're fairly easy to work on, and most of the parts are standard parts which are easy to get hold of, and even the Sage specific parts are fairly inexpensive and accessible. But the fact I'm going to be continuing to use the dual boiler as my main machine will of course mean I'm going to get to know more and more about it, so I'm going to be creating more in-depth videos on this machine over time. If you have any specific questions, or if there's a particular video you'd like to see on the Sage dual boiler, please ask in the comments below. So thank you very much for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click the like button. Thank you. It really does help videos perform better when you click the like button. It's not just for vanity. If you're looking for another video to watch, why not click here to watch another one of mine? And don't forget, to become an official coffee botherer, you need to click this image around here somewhere to subscribe to our channel, and to become a fully accredited coffee botherer, also known as Patreon supporter, go to patreon.com/coffeeblogkev. Tatty Bye!